Today, I'm sharing some of our favorite recipes to have for Christmas. And I have a little bit of everything in here. Some desserts, of course, side dishes, and some sweet treats. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie, and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 6 of the best Christmas recipes that my family loves, and I think yours will too. Okay y'all, let's get started. Okay y'all, this strawberry cream cheese cinnamon roll casserole is so good. In a large bowl, you're going to add 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. And of course, mine wasn't softened, so I had to put that in the microwave for just a few seconds. I also added half a cup of granulated sugar, but you can cut that back a little if you'd like, but we just have a sweet tooth around here. And I also added about a teaspoon of vanilla. Just mix it up until it's very well combined. You're going to need 2 of the 12.4 ounce cans of cinnamon rolls, but not just yet, and save those icing packs for the topping. And don't pay attention to me here. I just got excited about those cinnamon rolls, and I got a little ahead of myself. You'll need 1 can of strawberry pie filling. Right now, I'm only adding in half, but I'll add that other half in a little bit here. And you can also change up that pie filling. You could do blueberry, cherry, or even apple. That would be really good. I just gave that a quick stir before I add in the cinnamon rolls. I just used 2 cans of the Pillsbury Original. And I cut each of those cinnamon rolls into 6 pieces. Now you're just going to stir that together and get them coated in that strawberry cream cheese. I'm using a 9 by 13 inch baking dish for this. You do want to make sure you grease it or spray it with some kind of nonstick spray. Then go ahead and add in those cinnamon rolls. And just in case you're new here, I always have the full recipe either linked or typed out in my description box below. And I just tried to spread that out a little into an even layer. Now you're going to take that other half of strawberry pie filling that we used a little bit ago, and I just spooned it evenly over the top of the casserole. Now this goes into the oven to bake at 350 for 30 to 40 minutes, or until it's bubbly around the edges and that top is a little golden brown. And while it was still warm, I drizzled over that icing that came in the cinnamon roll cans. This would be really good to make for the holidays coming up, or it'd be a good brunch, or we love to have this on the weekends. It was delicious. And don't forget, feel free to change up that pie filling and get creative and use anything you like. We love green beans, and this French onion green bean casserole was a winner. To begin, in a large bowl, I'm adding 1 cup of the French onion dip. If you don't have this though, you can do 1 cup of sour cream and half a packet of onion soup mix. I'm also adding 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. Now to that, I'm adding 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese and half of a 6 ounce package of French fried onions. We're going to save that other half for the topping. I love this recipe because it's only 5 ingredients and that makes it so simple. And I'm just giving this a really good stir before I add in the green beans. I'm using 4 cans of whole green beans. I did drain them very well. And you can also use the cut, the French style, or even the Italian. Now to stir that up to get all those green beans completely covered in that mixture. You'll need a 9 by 13 baking dish, and you do want to spray it with nonstick spray. It looks like I forgot to do it that time. And you're just going to pour in those green beans. And by the way, if you're new, I would really love to have you here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you get notified of all my future videos. Okay, after you get it all in there and all spread out, we're going to place it in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 25 minutes. And after that 25 minutes, go ahead and take it out of the oven, and you're going to sprinkle over half a cup of shredded cheddar cheese and the other half of that bag of French fried onions. By the way, what's your favorite topping for casseroles? Do you prefer the French fried onions, or do you like the Ritz cracker toppings better? I know some people even use the corn flakes to top their casseroles. I've never tried that, but I really do need to. Okay, after you get that topping all on there, you're going to be careful because this pan is still hot. Place it back into the oven to bake for an additional 5 minutes. Just long enough for that cheese to melt. This was delicious. And maybe if you're not a fan of green beans, maybe you like broccoli better, you can always substitute the green beans for about a pound of chopped broccoli florets. By the way, I'm getting some really great recipe requests from y'all. Someone mentioned a raisin pie. I have never heard of that, but I looked it up and I can't wait to try it. I can't believe that this was the first time I made no-bake peanut butter bars. You'll need a 9x9 baking dish or pan. You'll want to have this ready, so I went ahead and lined mine with parchment paper to make it easier to lift out. To begin, in a large bowl, I added 3/4 cup of melted butter, along with 2 cups of powdered sugar and 2 cups of graham cracker crumbs. Now you're going to mix it until it's well combined. Now you're going to add in 1 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter and then give it another really good mix. And while I'm thinking about it, if you're new here, I post easy recipes like this all the time. So if that's something you're interested in, I would really love to have you here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you get notified of all my future videos. Now this is ready to go into that pan. And you're just going to dump it in and spread it out, or flatten it out. I started out using my offset spatula and that was not working. So I ended up switching to a spoon, which worked much better. But whatever works for you, as long as you get it pressed down into that pan in an even layer, you are good to go. Here's another little trick you can do. I just wrapped my hand with some plastic wrap and did that to smooth it out. You can also lay the plastic wrap down flat and smooth it out that way. Okay, now this goes into the refrigerator to chill while I make the chocolate topping. In a medium-sized bowl, I added 2½ cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I did a full bag and then half a cup from that other bag. I'm also adding 3 tablespoons of peanut butter. Now you're going to melt this in the microwave in 30-second intervals, stirring in between until it's completely melted. Now you can grab that peanut butter layer out of the refrigerator and pour on that topping. And just do your best to spread it out evenly. I had to add on a topping, so I added some red and green mini M&Ms. I also did some sprinkles. But y'all be creative and add anything you like. You could even do some chopped up Reese cups or a chopped up Butterfinger, or leave it plain. Whatever you decide, it's gonna be delicious. And I had to press those M&Ms down just to make sure they stuck. Now this goes into the refrigerator to chill for about 1 hour. Then you can cut it into small squares and eat it all up. This was so good. It was definitely a 10 out of 10. It was also so much easier than making peanut butter balls. This is also one I'm not just going to make for Christmas. I will definitely make it all year long. I'm telling you, my whole family loved it. This first one is cream cheese and candied bacon bites. To begin, you're going to cook up 5 slices of bacon. And I like to cut mine into small pieces, especially if the recipe calls for cooked and crumbled bacon. You're just going to cook it until it's done, but not quite crispy. It'll finish cooking in the oven. And I did do a little extra so I'd have something to snack on. And when that's done, you're going to remove it to a paper towel lined plate and set it aside. Over to the counter, in a small bowl, I added 2 ounces of softened cream cheese. And to that, I added 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. I'm just using my spatula there to mix it until it's well combined. I'm making these on a small baking sheet, and you'll need 1 box of frozen phyllo cups. I find these in the frozen food department, usually near the pie crust, but I will say they are hard to find. I can usually find them at Ingles or Publix. After you get them all laid out on that baking sheet, we're going to take that cream cheese mixture and divide it evenly between those 15 phyllo cups. So it ends up being about a teaspoon in each cup. After you get them all filled up, we're going to set it to the side. I'm using that same bowl I mixed the cream cheese in. I'm adding in that cooked bacon, and I did chop mine up into very small pieces. It's a whole lot easier to put in those cups that way. I also added in 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. And if you don't have maple syrup, pancake syrup will work just fine. You just really need something to help that brown sugar stick to the bacon. Now you're going to make sure all that's mixed together really good. Now we're going to grab those phyllo cups and do the same thing we did with the cream cheese. You're going to divide that bacon evenly between those 15 phyllo cups. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up. It really does help out my channel. And it just lets me know that you want to see more videos like this. Now these go into the oven to bake at 350 for 8 to 10 minutes, or until that bacon on top looks nice and caramelized. I did want to mention this recipe is super easy if you want to double it or even triple it. These here, now these are a crowd pleaser. That combination of bacon and cream cheese is out of this world. I can't think of 2 better things in one tiny little bite. If you make this Kentucky butter cake, you'll have everybody asking you for the recipe. In a large bowl, I added 1 butter golden cake mix, but you could also use vanilla. Then I added 1 small box of the vanilla instant pudding, 1 cup of milk, and I just used 2%. I'm also adding 4 eggs and 1/3 cup of sour cream. Oh, and I also added 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I know y'all don't fuss at me about the vanilla. I promise I'll get the pure vanilla extract here soon. I just mixed that batter up until it was well combined. I'm making this in my bundt pan, and I did spray it with nonstick spray. My favorite nonstick spray is the Baker's Joy. You're just going to pour that batter in and make sure you get it in there kind of evenly. And I just try to wiggle it and kind of shake it around a little bit to kind of level it out. Then it bakes at 350 for 40 to 45 minutes. While that's in the oven, I'm starting on the butter glaze. In a saucepan, I was supposed to only add 1/3 cup of butter. I got ahead of myself and threw in the whole stick. I also added 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of water and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Just cook this on medium-low and whisk until all that sugar is dissolved. And here it is out of the oven, and you'll want to go ahead and do this now while it's still warm. I'm just using one of those wooden kebab skewers to just poke holes in the whole top of that cake. And you could also just do this with like a butter knife. Now I'm just taking that butter glaze that I made and pouring it all over the top. And I'm just trying to drizzle it slowly over those holes and try not to keep all the glaze from going over the sides. It's okay if it goes over the sides, but you really want all that glaze in the middle of that cake there. I'm just using a little silicone brush to kind of work it down into those holes. And of course, because I ended up using too much butter, I had a little extra glaze left. And you do want to let this cool completely in the pan. My cake had completely cooled, so now I'm just flipping it out onto a cake stand. I think this may be my favorite part of making a cake when I make it in a bundt pan. Now don't get me wrong, I get nervous every single time. Sometimes they come out perfect and sometimes they come out falling apart. But if you ever have a few places that kind of stick, just piece that cake back together. You can make up a quick glaze and drizzle it over the top, or do like me and cover it in powdered sugar. This cake was so delicious. In fact, it's now one of my husband's new all-time favorite cake recipes. And I'm pretty happy about that because this was so easy to make. And around here, no holiday dinner is complete without dinner rolls. And these come together in only a little bit over an hour. In my measuring cup here, I have 1 1/4 cup of warm milk. I also added 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 4 tablespoons of melted butter. Stir that up. Now I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of the rapid rise yeast. Then you're going to stir it one last time, and I did let it sit for a few minutes just to make sure that yeast was working. And after about 5 minutes, this is what it should look like. It is just starting to foam up on top. I just poured that mixture into the bowl of my stand mixer. I also added in 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I only added half of that flour to begin with. I'm using my dough whisk attachment for this. It does do a little better with it. I turned my mixer on and let it go ahead and start mixing before I added in the other half of that flour. Everything was getting good and mixed together there, so I went ahead and added in the rest of that flour. And you're going to let this mix until that dough pulls away from the sides of the bowl there. After you've added in all that flour and you let it mix for a little bit, and if the dough is still sticky, you can always add in a little more flour. I would just add in like a tablespoon at a time. You don't want it to be too dry, but you want to be able to handle it just so it don't stick all to your fingers. I covered it and let it rest for about 10 minutes. Now it's time to roll them into rolls. I'm using a kitchen scale just to make sure they're all the same size, but you can totally just eyeball it. I get the total weight of the dough and then just divide it by 15 because that's how many rolls this recipe makes. I've got my dough here. I'm ready to make it into a roll. It's kind of hard to explain. I just kind of stretch the dough out and tuck it in at the bottom and then do that all the way around. That way the top is nice and smooth. I'll do it upside down now so maybe you can see it a little better this way. I just stretch and tuck. Then you're just going to flip it over and place it into that baking dish. Once you get those all rolled up, you really don't want that dough to dry out. I've got a little bowl of water here and I'm just wetting my fingertips and rubbing the top of those rolls. Or if you had a little clean spray bottle, that would work too. And you can cover these with a towel or something and place them somewhere warm for about 30 minutes to rise. After they've doubled in size, you can uncover them and place them in a preheated 375-degree oven for 16 to 18 minutes. Here they are out of the oven, and I already have melted butter here to spread over the top.
I love this recipe because they come together so much quicker than the ones that take 3 hours. These are light and fluffy and buttery on top, and let me tell you, they do not even last 1 day in my house. The recipe does make 15 rolls, but I have always tripled it when we have get-togethers with the family. You can't have a holiday dinner without rolls, and these are absolutely delicious. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes. Oh, and I want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one.